I see you. I have been watching you walk past me for weeks now, phone open, mind elsewhere, the small whisper inside you treated like background noise from a station you have stopped tuning. Not the urgency the headlines are selling you. Not the urgency a notification keeps faking on your screen. Not the urgency a religious voice has used to scare you into compliance. A different urgency, a patient one, a divine breath already moving through the room you are sitting in. Come a little closer. Right now, in the minutes you have given me here, allow me to reveal why the quiet pressure you have been feeling is not pressure at all. It is an invitation to step into a draft that has been blowing through your life longer than you guessed. Stay near. The wind is already moving. The window is already open. You have been carrying a strange tension lately, a sense that something in you is being addressed, asked, summoned even. And at the same moment, a fear that the asking is the kind of asking that arrives with a deadline you cannot meet. So you have done what frightened people do with quiet asks, dismissed them. A song reached you in the car and you turned the volume down. A sentence from a stranger landed in the soft place and you walked off shaking it. A wakeful hour at 3 a.m. brought a small breath of conviction, and you reached for the phone before the breath could finish what it was trying to say. None of these refusals make you a bad daughter or son of mine. They make you a tender one who learned early that urgency always meant trouble. Allow me to begin loosening that knot for you while we sit together. I have been near. The neighbor of yours who has been listening for a sign she will never quite name has not been forgotten. There is a man 2 streets over who keeps almost opening the conversation with me and changing his mind at the last minute because he's afraid of what my answer might cost him. A young one whose silence has been deeper than her words for a year now is also held. An older one who has begun to suspect that the door of his second chance closed while he was still arguing about whether to walk through it. I am near him as well. None of these are abstractions. Each one is a real chest in a real room, and every chest is one I have set my ear against in this very hour. Your morning conversation with me has grown thinner because the urgency you were taught about me sounded like a court date. My urgency is not a court date. My urgency is a porch light that has been on for years. I am not the kind of father who hisses at a tired child to move faster. What I am sending across your life is the breath of a parent who knows the right hour, not the impatient hour. Those two are entirely different, and I will keep you from confusing them. One kind of urgency belongs to the world, fear-shaped, deadline-shaped, designed to push you into action before your soul has caught up with your body. Mine is different, a steady draft from an open window, an invitation that does not threaten, a calling that strengthens you in the receiving rather than collapsing you in the demand. Pressure you have been calling mine has been mostly the world's. Set that pressure down for a while and listen instead to what my breath actually sounds like when it reaches a person. An old friend of yours grew quiet about your inner life because the topic became uncomfortable. Your sister has not mentioned faith in months. A small group you used to belong to forgot to text. You started reading less, praying briefer, listening shorter. None of those are catastrophes in my eyes. They are only the natural drift of a soul that has not been hearing a kind word from heaven for a stretch. And I am the kind of God who comes back into the room with a kind word rather than a complaint. So hear the kind word now. Drift is not the verdict. Drift is the very room I am about to fill again with a draft. Hold the breath you are taking for one slow count, then release it without pushing. Just one. Notice the small pause at the top of the breath, that motionless second when the lungs are full and nothing is happening yet. That is the shape of my waiting. Full of something for you. Not measuring how long it takes you to receive it. Now let the air out. Notice how the body softens a little on its own, without you instructing it to. That softening is the body recognizing a presence the mind has been arguing with. The presence is mine. The presence has not arrived. It was already in the room when you sat down. This fear of my urgency was not built in you alone. It was passed down. You absorbed it the morning a teacher told you that God was always about to come back and grade your week with a red pen. And so the very word urgent began to taste like punishment in your mouth. You absorbed it the season a religious gathering taught you that my voice arrived only when something was about to go wrong, never simply when something was about to be made beautiful. You absorbed it the night a worried elder told you, with the best intentions, that I had a temper and a timer. And your young heart understood, without being told, that any quick word from me must therefore be a warning. You absorbed it the year an unhealthy church confused my calling with their guilt trip. And you learned to brace whenever a hand reached out from the pulpit toward your soul. All of those moments wired your nervous system to translate divine nearness as divine threat. That translation is not the truth about me. It is only the residue of voices that borrowed my name without my permission. Allow me to stand between you and a noise that has been speaking for me without my consent. That noise told you a true word from heaven arrives like a slamming door. That noise warned you a real conviction always feels like dread in the chest. That noise insisted that the proof of my calling is the panic it produces. None of that came from me. Proof of my calling has never been panic. Proof of my calling is the loosening that follows the recognition. Panic tightens. My breath loosens. If something inside you is tightening when you think about me, that is not me you are hearing. That is the inherited voice of the worried teacher, the fearful elder, the unhealthy congregation. Send that voice away. You do not have to argue with it. Refuse it, the chair it has been sitting in beside your soul, and the chair will eventually feel empty in a good way. At some point in your formation, you were taught that urgency from my side of heaven sounds like an ultimatum. Open this letter or lose your job. Pray this sentence or miss the train. Decide in this hour or live with the regret forever. That was not me. That has never been me. The kind of urgency I speak is the urgency of a parent leaning over a child who has slept through their birthday morning, not to scold, but because the cake is fresh and the people who love them are already at the table. Patient asking, happy asking. An asking that does not become smaller if you take a few more minutes to wake up. It only stays at the bedside, gently, waiting to be received. That portrait of my urgency you have been carrying inside your chest. A finger-wagging, deadline-issuing, sigh-producing version of me came from brushes I never held. A few painters meant well and were honestly passing on a picture they had been given. Others needed your fear to keep their religious system funded. Both kinds of source produced the same falsified portrait, and that portrait has been costing you years of nearness with the actual me. Set it down for a while. Lean it against the wall. I will describe now what my urgency actually feels like, so the next time the small whisper visits you in a quiet hour, you will know what you are listening to. My urgency is breath, not blade. My urgency feels like a draft through a window you forgot was open, carrying a faint scent of something familiar, something from a long-ago kitchen you used to love. It does not demand. It only invites you to look up. It does not threaten what will happen if you ignore it. Only steady motion through the room, faithful, patient, persistent. And on the day you finally lift your face into it, the recognition is so quiet, you almost miss it. That is the breath I have been sending across the rooms of your week. Brushing your shoulder while you were trying to focus on a screen. That has been me. None of it has been the dread you assumed. Drop your shoulders a quarter inch. Just a quarter. You do not need a full release. A small one will do for now. Notice how that small drop opens a half-inch of space in your chest you had been clenching without naming. That half-inch is the room I have been wanting to enter. You did not have to renovate the whole house to let me in. You only had to soften one corner enough for the draft to find its way through. Your body teaches the soul how to receive faster than the mind does. Mind argues with grace. Shoulders simply let it in. Trust the shoulders for a minute longer than you usually trust them. I want to bring you to a sentence I once spoke during an honest midnight conversation. A respected teacher came to find me after dark, a man whose official world would not let him be publicly seen wanting to learn anything new from me. So he came quietly, with a question his daytime life would not allow him to ask. We sat down. He began carefully, the way an educated person begins when they want to seem learned, even as they ask. I answered him gently because the questions of a midnight visitor are tender questions, and tender questions deserve gentle hands. Somewhere in that conversation, I gave him a picture so quiet and so true that one of my friends kept it close and wrote it down later so that it could reach a respected adult in your own century who is also hungry, but ashamed of being hungry. That respected adult is you in this hour, in your own kind of dark. This is what I said. John chapter 3, verse 8. The wind blows where it wishes, and you hear its sound, but you do not know where it comes from or where it goes. So it is with everyone who is born of the Spirit. Move through it slowly beside me. Do not race past it. More breath lives inside this sentence than the speed of an ordinary reed will let you draw. Notice the first phrase. Wishes. Not where you tell it. Not where you schedule it. Not where your church calendar permits it. My spirit follows its own loving will here, not the rulebook handed to it by an institution. You have been trying to summon me with formulas because someone told you formulas were the only safe way. A gust of my spirit does not work that way. It does not arrive because you said the right syllable. It arrives because it loves to arrive, and it has been arriving in your life on days you did not even know to ask. Most of the kindest moments of nearness across your years were not produced by you. They were a current that wished to pass through, and you happened to be home. You hear its sound. Read the next phrase. You hear. Not you control. Not you predict. Not you summon. You hear. Hearing is the only required posture. The breath does not need your management. It needs your attention. And attention, in my economy, is the small act of stopping for a moment to notice the rustle of leaves you had been walking past, unhearing. Sound has been here. It was in the song that arrived in the car. It was in the stranger's sentence. It was in the wakeful hour at 3 a.m. It was in the few minutes you sat down to listen to this very message. Sound itself has not been missing. The hearing is what was being asked of you, but you do not know where it comes from or where it goes. Notice the freedom of this line. You are not required to understand the route of the wind in order to receive it. You do not have to map its origin. You do not have to predict its destination. You do not have to write a thesis on the doctrine of my spirit before the doctrine is allowed to comfort you. The wind does not require your theology before it will fill the lungs of a person standing in it. The wind only requires the open mouth, the open chest, the willingness to let the air in. That sentence was a relief to the man across from me the hour I spoke it, and it has not stopped being a relief in any century since. He had built his whole adult life on knowing the root of everything sacred. In the quiet of a small house at midnight, I told him that the deepest movement of my presence in a human soul is the one part of his life he was never going to be able to chart. The not knowing was not a failure. The not knowing was the doorway to the actual living thing. He left that conversation, by every indication, a different man. Not because he understood more, because he had finally heard the wind. So it is with everyone who is born of the Spirit. Hear the universality, not with the educated, not with the holy, not with the religiously fluent, with everyone. Every one of you who has felt a small, unexplainable kindness inside you. Every one of you who has been moved to forgive when forgiveness was not earned. Every one of you who has felt strangely held in a season that should have crushed you. Every one of you has been touched by that wind. The mark of my Spirit is not certainty. The mark of my Spirit is the gentle, unaccountable movement inside a soul that the soul itself cannot fully explain. If you have felt that ever, in any moment of your life, however brief, you have heard the wind. You are not as far from me as you have been told. As I once breathed into the first man's nostrils, and he became a living soul, I am breathing now into the chambers of yours that have been holding their breath for a long stretch. The breath I am giving is not new equipment. It is the same breath that has been the source of every alive thing in you since the first morning of your existence. You have not been earning the breath. You have been receiving it without noticing. The invitation now is only to notice. Notice the breath. Notice the draft. Notice that the chest under your hand has been rising and falling without your management, the same way a window has been letting air through without your supervision. Both are gifts. Both are mine. Both have been arriving in your life every second since you were placed inside it. Step back for a moment to the promise I gave at the opening of these words. I told you that the urgency you have been feeling is not pressure, but invitation. Here, now, is the answer to why. Because my breath does not push. My breath invites. It moves through the open window when there is one, and waits patiently at the closed window when there is not. It does not break the glass. It does not announce itself with thunder. It does not threaten what will happen if you keep the window shut. It only keeps blowing, kindly, persistently, faithfully, until the day you finally crack the latch and let it in. The asking is the wind itself. The wind is the asking. There is no other deadline. There is no other ultimatum. There is only the breath and the open chest and the recognition. So here is something small you can carry into the rhythm of your week. The next time you feel that quiet pressure rising inside you, and you will, because pressure is one of the few languages a busy adult still listens to, pause and pose one honest question to yourself. Is this fear pushing me, or is the wind passing through? That is the entire test. It is not theological. It is bodily. Fear tightens the chest. Fear hardens the jaw. Fear narrows the breath into short, shallow bursts that prepare the body for a fight that may not even be real. Wind does the opposite. It loosens. It softens. A current lengthens the breath without you choosing it. If the inside of you is tightening, the voice is not mine. Send it away gently. If the inside of you is loosening, the voice is mine. Lean into the loosening. That is the wind, asking to be let in a little further. A second beat to the practice when you have room for it. Once you have identified the loosening, do not immediately try to act on it. The temptation will be to do something, to fix, to call, to commit, to perform some visible response that proves you took the wind seriously. Resist for a few breaths. The wind does not always ask for an immediate action. Sometimes the wind only asks to be received. Receiving is its own response. Receiving is the response the wind was looking for in the first place. Stand in the loosening. Let it widen the room inside you. The action, if there is one to take, will become clear in its own hour. Right now, the asked for thing is the standing in the breeze, a third movement, even softer. Once the wind has passed through and the moment is quiet again, do not dismiss what just happened. Most of you will scroll on. Most of you will fill the silence with another podcast or another notification before the wind has even finished settling into the room. Practice instead a small act of holding. Stay in the chair for 1 additional minute. Place your hand somewhere on your body that confirms you are still here, the chest, the throat, the palm of the other hand. And breathe out a quiet thank you that nobody else has to hear. The wind feeds on those quiet thank yous. Not because I need your gratitude to function, because gratitude is the way you learn to keep recognizing the wind on the days it comes again. Try 1, will probably feel like nothing. Try 10 may still feel mostly like an exercise. A nervous system that has been bracing against divine urgency for years does not unbrace in an afternoon. But around try 30, you will register a shift. The small pressure inside you will have begun to feel less like an emergency and more like a guest. Around the 50th attempt, register the further shift. You will catch yourself looking forward to the quiet pressure when it arrives, because it has begun to feel like a familiar friend rather than a stranger at the door. Around the 100th attempt, glance at the inside of you and notice that the wind has been moving through your week with a constancy you never had to fight for. It has simply become a part of your atmosphere. The window has been open longer than you realized. The breath has been doing what breath does. If anything in these words is reaching the soft place inside you that has been waiting to be addressed, leave the word breathe in the comments below, not as a tagline, but as a small flag set into the ground of an open window. Above this video, you will find 7 brief letters already prepared inside the pinned space, 1 to greet each of your coming mornings, sent into your inbox the instant a soft yes turns the latch. Receive them. For whoever among you has been frightened of the very word urgency, because every previous urgency in your life arrived as a crisis, hear me. My urgency is not a crisis. My urgency is the urgency of an open hand, not the urgency of a clenched one. A clenched fist demands, an open hand invites. The breath reaching you right now is coming from an open hand. There is nothing in it that is going to harm you. There is nothing in it that is going to embarrass you. There is nothing in it that is going to humiliate the careful adult you have worked so hard to become. The wind is gentle in exactly the place where the previous urgencies of your life were cruel. Trust the gentleness. Gentleness is the proof that this one is different. To the one whose midnight question has been waiting on your lips for years, the one of you who is more like that respected midnight visitor than you care to admit, the one who has been longing for an honest conversation with me, but who has been afraid of what it would cost your standing. Hear this. The door of the small house is still open at this very hour. I am still inside. The lamp is still lit. You do not have to time your arrival with daylight to make the visit respectable. Come at the hour you can come. Bring the half-formed sentence. Bring the embarrassment of your hunger. Bring the question you have been rehearsing on the inside of your skull for years. I am the kind of teacher whose patience does not have a closing time. The conversation that changed him at midnight is the same conversation I'm willing to have with you, and the gentleness in my voice toward that quiet visitor is the same gentleness I will use with you. If you have been told by a religious system that my urgency comes with a financial deadline, give now, sow now, plant the seed now. Hear me clearly. That was not me. My urgency has never been a fundraising appeal. My urgency does not threaten your wallet. My urgency does not promise you a divine return on a manipulated act of giving. My urgency is the wind, and the wind does not ask for your bank account. The wind asks only that you be willing to feel it on your face. Free yourself from that confusion. The breath I am offering does not have a price tag attached. Anyone who taught you it did was attaching their own bill to a gift I gave for free. To the one whose body has been ill for so long that you have started to read the slowness of your healing as a no from me, hear this also. A current of my spirit is moving through the room of your body even now. You may not be able to feel it. The illness may have dulled the receptors that used to recognize a divine draft. That does not mean it stopped. It is patient. It is faithful. It is doing in the underground of your body what the surface scans cannot yet show. Receive the gift, even when the body does not register it. Sometimes I am renewing the soul first, because the soul is the deeper room, and the body will follow when the room beneath it has been re-aired. For whichever of you has a household currently silent toward me, anyone praying for a partner, a child, a parent who has stopped responding to the things of God, hear this too. My breath goes where it wishes. That is the line. You do not get to direct it. You do not get to time it. You do not get to predict which window of which heart in your household it will pass through next. But the wind is in motion in your house. It has not gone still in those rooms. The very prayers you have been offering have been the breath making itself known in the corners. Keep praying. Stay in the chair. The Spirit does not run out, and the windows of the ones you love are not as sealed as they look from the outside. And to the one in this very hour who is experiencing what feels like a strange peace settling onto your shoulders as these words land, hear me. That is the wind. That is what I was sending the whole time. The pressure you were carrying as you opened this video has begun to soften because the breath has found a window in you, and the breath is doing what breath does. Do not analyze it. Do not try to capture it. Do not run for a journal to record it before it leaves. Simply remain inside it. The remaining is the receiving. The receiving is what the urgency was asking for all along. Receive one true sentence again, the way a friend says it at the doorway before stepping back into the evening air. The wind is already moving. The window is already open. Keep those two lines tucked along the lining of your ordinary days. Speak them under your breath when the day grows heavy. Whisper them at the red light. Press them against the inside of your ribs when the inherited urgency of fear tries to reclaim its old chair. Both stay true whether or not your senses can confirm them right now. A current of my spirit does not need your verification. An open window does not need your supervision. Both have been mine to keep. Draw one slow inhale, hold it briefly, then release it without pushing. Just one. Then again, even slower. Let the exhale be longer than the inhale by a small margin. A slow out breath reminds your body that the air is not running out. It tells your chest that what gives life has always arrived without your management. Such a small exhale is the smallest possible yes a body can speak, and it carries the same weight at my throne as the longest articulate prayer ever has. 2 of those breaths will carry you gently back into the room you walked away from when you sat down to listen. You will be different on the way back. The room will be the same. The spirit moving through the room will be the same. Only the chest of the one walking back into it will have softened. Amen. If these words landed somewhere real in you, 7 brief letters wait inside the pinned space below. 1 for each morning of your coming week, dropping into your inbox. The second, a soft yes turns the latch. Receive them. Pass this along to someone walking through the same kind of quiet pressure. Hit subscribe so the message coming after this reaches your feed before the old urgency does. You were never meant to feel this draft alone.